Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon series, Ace Duck and Mutagen Man. This is probably the most out there 2-pack that we've seen, and that's going to be the question of the day. How do you guys feel about this 2-pack? So far the 2-packs have been pretty darn good, except for the Vernon one. I don't think most people wanted Vernon. How do you guys feel about this one? These guys are more iconic characters, especially if you were collecting the toys, collecting the kids. Don't do that. Collecting the toys as a kid, you might want to get both of these. So let me know how you guys feel about that. I think it's kind of cool. Okay, so a lot of good stuff going on here. Some really unique things, as you might guess, with Mutagen Man. A lot of effort put into these. So let's get them off the stand and take a closer look. We are going to look at both figures all in one review, so I'm going to kind of just bounce back and forth, and hopefully that gets the job done. Alright, this guy stands, I'm going to say including his hat, because I don't see many people posing him without his hat, about 6.5 inches just above that, which is going to make him pretty close to, let's say 16.5 centimeters. And Mutagen Man, he's a little bit shorter, closer to 14 centimeters, and that's going to be just about, let's say 5.5 inches. And we'll just talk about the aesthetics for both of them all at the same time, because it's all the same type of paint job. It is the cartoon styling with the heavy black line work and no shading anywhere. I think that's very cool. We do still get the darker backside for each character. Less noticeable with the backpack here, but it is there. We have light purple, dark purple, the two different yellows. That's very nice. And then same thing with Ace Duck. We have the different browns and the different blues. The blues are also very close to each other, but still, it's not bad. It looks really good. I like it. I do wish we had a little bit more of that going on with his yellow. We don't have it on the head at all, or on the wings. So we could use a little bit more of that detailing, but it's still a really cool looking set. Maybe not the most interesting with Ace Duck, but this guy with all the different parts, really interesting and very well done. I will say, I don't think he was painted very well down here. This whole right leg is not the right color yellow. I'm assuming it's supposed to be the same color. I could be wrong. I don't really remember that much about this character, but it looks to me like this is meant to be painted to match, and it just isn't. So you guys can let me know if I'm wrong about that, but otherwise it's still really good. The internal paint job is really nice with the face. And then of course all the little details throughout. Very, very appealing. And this guy has this really awesome detailing on his back. Very nice looking set. So I'm going to give these guys a 9 out of 10 for aesthetics. NECA almost always gets high scores on aesthetics, and this is no different. Very, very well detailed. NECA also almost always gets really high scores for accessories, and this set might have the most ever. So let's do Ace Duck first. We do have his hat, which can come off. It does come off too easily, so I threw some sticky tack on there, but you have the hat. Then you have two different heads, one with the open eyes and one with like the more grimacy looking eyes. You have the grimacy looking beak and the open beak, and those can all be interchanged. The two heads and the two beaks, they all swap to do it however you want, so that's pretty cool. We have two fist hands, one thumbs up hand, two pointing finger hands, two trigger finger hands with proper hinges, and then one wide open hand. That's very cool. We do get the revolver and the semi-auto pistol. We get his two little egg grenades. We get a VHS tape, a film reel, and we get a movie poster, which is all a very cool batch of accessories for him. For Mutagen Man, we have the angry looking head and the scared or whatever looking head, and they both have articulating jaws, so that's very nice. For hands, we have the two fist hands, one trigger finger hand and one secondary gun holding hand, two wide open gripping hands, and then one more relaxed hand. We do get the big gun, which is very nicely detailed, and we get the canister. That's a lot of accessories, and they're all very nicely done, so 10 out of 10 for accessories. Very cool. As for articulation, we're going to start with a Mr. Duck here, and then we'll move on to Mr. Man. That's how I'm going to refer to them from now on. We have ball pegs. He doesn't have the best range in the world, but it's definitely good enough. You can lean to the side. You can lean up. It doesn't look up that far because of his jacket getting in the way, but it does look down. Can rotate, of course, so it's going to be fine. It might not be the most articulation you've ever seen in a neck, but it'll be fine. Combination of pegs, ball sockets. For the wings, you do get the rotation and the hinge. That's it, no folding or anything here. So it's a little bit more limited than you might want, but that's okay. They'll work. Kind of leave them like that maybe. Looks pretty good. For the shoulders, get up to only about that far, not quite horizontal, so a little bit of a bummer there. You do get your rotation, but the jacket is V-shaped, so that's going to affect that to a degree. Alright, now for the elbows, we do have the double jointed separate elbow piece, so you get a swivel at both ends and then two hinges. Out of those hinges, you should get really good range, and you do, no problem there. It's not the best looking thing. I still don't like this elbow design because it gives you this big long, like a long bone basically, instead of just the long bone here and then the two down here. You get an extra set of bones, it's not great looking, but it is functional and you get your rotation out of that, so it'll do. Again, for the jacketed figures, it's not as bad. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. I already talked about that for the trigger holding or trigger finger hands. He does have a ball peg in the waist, and it does lean some, but not a ton, so you're basically just going to be doing your rotation thing. The belt is nice and loose so that it does hang like this, like it's supposed to. I cannot get a gun to fit in here and close it at the same time. Both guns fit. The revolver fits much better, but it doesn't close. I can't get it to reach around and close. We do have 2 spots for the egg grenades, which is really cool because that's how the original figure was. He had the little egg grenades that fit in there, so I like that. For the hips, we have the ball sockets, and they're fairly loose again. I hope NECA gets working on that. I'm a little bit reminiscent of the Predator legs being loose for ages, and so I'm hoping these ball sockets get tightened up as they go. But he does also have a very low diaper, so you have very limited range going forward without a lot of flexing. Same thing out to the side. It's enough, but it's not a ton. And flex that as much as you want to, but you can see some cracking, potentially. I can't tell if it's painted. It doesn't look like the light blue is painted here, so you might be safe, but be aware. You do get some thigh swivel out of it, not a ton though. Double jointed knees work just fine. It's a little stiff there, but you get plenty of good range, and actually you could get even more if you do the bottom one. A little bit more like that. So yeah, pretty good range out of the knees. That's good. Ankles don't go all that far back, and the painting could be a little better here. I didn't mention that, but you're not going to notice it too much. And they go forward enough, and you get your ankle rocker. So it's definitely enough articulation. He's more normal human shaped, so you would expect a little bit better. It is a little bit better, I would say, than normal, but we are still lacking in some areas. So I'll give this guy only a 7 out of 10. It's good enough, but it's not great. Now for Mutagen Man, we're going to talk about not just articulation, because we have to take this whole thing apart also. But first, we'll just do the arms and legs as we normally would. The shoulders go up that far, not all that far, but it'll do. Rotation is fine. If you go forward far enough, you're going to pop the shoulder pad out of place, so be aware of that. Bicep swivel is a standard bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow works fine. It's limited, of course, because of these things, and on this side, it's going to be limited also because he has another strap right there. So you're not going to get a ton of range, but about 90. Be very careful about this. It's hard plastic. You could break it off. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. His gun hand is not a vertical hinge. That's a bit of a bummer. For his hips, very limited range, unfortunately, and you get some marks. At least mine had some marks on it from being pressed up against his diaper, his robo diaper. So very, very limited range. Almost nothing going on there. They're not loose, but that's mostly because they don't move. For the knees, this knee works fine at the top joint. I can't get the bottom joint to move, but otherwise it would be a really good knee. On this side, I can't get either one to move. It's very stuck. A hairdryer should fix that, but I review these as they come right out of the package. No shin swivel on either side. For the ankle, this one's cool. These 2 pistons are free floating at the top. So as you rotate the ankle using the ankle rocker, they just move in and out, and it gives you the ankle rocker you need. And you have a decent hinge going forward and back. It's good enough. This ankle, it doesn't have a lot of range. It's okay. It's definitely good enough. And then you get a little bit of an ankle rocker out of that. So that's pretty basic there. It's fine. Now as far as this whole contraption goes, you just unpeg his chesticle tubers, unpeg his head tuber, and these guys have a hinge that lets them fling out of the way, and then this just lifts up and hangs out. I don't think it disconnects from either place. I pulled on it a little bit, but I didn't want to pull too much, and it seems okay like that. So once it's like that, you can kind of wedge this thing off. I found it best to just kind of keep pulling it forward. It doesn't tab in too much at the bottom down here, so you should be able to do it without risk of any breakage. Just give it a little wiggle, and it comes off. The head connects on a ball peg to the very back. It's very difficult to do. This is the one thing I did do with the hairdryer because he comes with the sad face on him and I don't like that. So I swapped him out. This just sits in here. It's got a little hole right there. The spinal cord thing, he just sits in there, doesn't connect. Pegs into the underside of the head and the head pegs into the back. It's very stiff and doesn't have a ton of range, but that does move around a little bit, and they do both have the slightly articulating jaw. But that's about it. There's nothing crazy going on there other than the way they had to assemble this whole guy. And they did make it work very nicely. I'm pleased with it. And I don't know what else they could do. So articulation on this guy is definitely very limited. I'm only going to give him a 5 out of 10. It's understandable, but it is limited. So Time for the final verdict on these guys. As usual, articulation is not the strong suit, but accessories and aesthetics are great. So I'm going to give this 2-pack an overall rating of 9 out of 10. It's really, really good. Could be better. Articulation definitely limited. This guy's got some looseness, but it's a super fun release. Again, if you're into this turtle line, you're going to be hyped for this. It's a good set. This guy's particularly fun because of the clear plastic and the engineering that went into it. This guy is just more of a standard action figure, which worked out nicely. So very pleased with it. I think you guys will be too. So there it is. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.